Hi friends and fans, it's Michael Pierce from Michael's Health Answers, and today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. I've been asked a couple of times how and why I know so many things about so many different bits and pieces of life and how things work, and so I'm going to give you some of that information, and I'm sort of going to do it as a quick history on Michael Pierce, more like a resume. So as a young child, I did gymnastics as a adolescent, and when I was about 10 years old I started figure skating. Well, it turns out that that was my talent when I was young. In 2 years I went through the entire badge and training program, completing 12 of the 14 possible badges. Took my junior coaching certificate in September of 1977, when I was still 12 years old, and at that time you would have to be 13 years old to be an amateur coach with the Canadian Amateur Figure Skating Association. But because I'd passed the test, and because I was larger than most kids my age and very confident on the ice and worked well with the young children, my coach got me out there on the ice right away, and at the time I was the youngest figure skating amateur coach in Canada, which was kind of cool because my parents didn't have the money to pay for private lessons. So what my coach did was, if I coached the little kids for 45 minutes a day, 5 days a week, he would give me a free private lesson with himself or a free half an hour with his assistant coach. So this worked out really well for me, and I didn't know it at the time, but this was my first experience as an entrepreneur. I had found a way at just 12 years old to get paid for something I was good at. Wow, who knew? And later in life it served me very, very well. So from figure skating, the next thing that I went to do for an occupation was cooking. When I was 15 years old, I got a job as a dishwasher at what turned out to be one of the top 10 restaurants in the small town of about 30,000 I lived in. It was really an interesting place. It was a small operation that had been set up by 3 chefs from 3 other restaurants, and each of them worked there on their days off so they could make extra money and play with some ideas and work together. So I got to work with 3 of the best, most experienced, most knowledgeable chefs in my small town. Later, one came to run the most famous restaurant locally, called Locals. One became the chef instructor at North Island College, and the third one went on to own, operate, and sell the Old House restaurant, which is world famous and at one time was one of the top 10 restaurants in Western Canada. So I have worked at some of the most amazing places on the planet when it comes to food and fine dining. I worked at a place called the Gourmet by the Sea in Oyster River, which, like the Old House at the time, was in the top 10 restaurants in the whole planet. And actually at one time, the Gourmet by the Sea, the year before I started working there, was the gold medal winners in the Canadian Culinary Olympics that year. So always I've managed to find the right teachers, the right coaches, the right trainers to learn the most as fast as possible. It's one of the gifts I have. When I need information, I can walk into a second-hand bookstore, scan around, find the right section, put my hand on a book, and 9 times out of 10, if I trust myself, that book has the answers or the information, even if I didn't know what I needed or wasn't absolutely sure. So that gets me on to the next topic, maybe, after cooking. And part of my time in cooking was to read at least one recipe every day, one cooking technique every day. So this was the start of the years and the years and years of acquiring fresh knowledge. I had always read as a child. I actually got in trouble in junior high school because I was sitting in English class reading a book one day, and the teacher came up to me and asked me what I was doing. I said, "I'm reading." And she said, "Well, have you done your work?" I said, "Yeah, I finished all my classwork. Actually, I've done all the homework for all my classes all day, and since this is the last class today and I have no work to do, is it okay if I read a book? This is English after all." So she didn't like my attitude, but she couldn't find any fault with my logic, so she left me to read my book. The next year, I actually had this teacher for English literature, and it was the first time I ever got a B in English. I have some issues with spelling and grammar, so I had never been able to excel at English till I took English literature. And then it turned out, because I came from an old English background, that I was very good at deciphering and translating the old world thoughts. So really, I have been a learner and a reader and my whole life. When I left cooking in 2001, and went into the financial services business, I very quickly learned that if I wanted to stay at the top of my game and be successfully self-employed, that I should read one quality book on self-improvement or business a month. And I also started a program of watching one CD or listening to one educational audio on MP3 every week. So I have now done that for 13 years, so that's over 150 books and over 1,000 CDs or audio files. So yes, it sounds like a lot, but if you just pick up one new thing every day, move forward with it and implement it, put it to use in what you're doing, things will get better, your communication skills will improve, you'll have a larger audience, slowly you'll grow your business, and one day people will actually be calling you and saying, how do I get started? What do I do? What do I need to know? That's where I am now. So thank you for listening, and thank you for commenting and sharing. Have a great day. Take care. Goodbye.